he was 6'2", 6'3", I mean, he might go in the top 3 or 4 rounds.
This is a guy that really seemed to take advantage of the off-season. What was his off-season like, even dating back to summer ball and then in the fall?
Well, I think it all happened in summer ball. That was the first summer that he really got to go out and really pitch competitively in a collegiate league. And he went to the Texas Collegiate League, and I mean, he was outstanding. I mean, he was one of the top guys in the league and got a lot of recognition for it. So I think that gave him the confidence. He continued to work on things and get better, and you could just see when he got back here in the fall that he had a chance to really start to do something special, and it just continued to progress. Like I said, I mean, watching him for that length of time, from when he was 15, 16, you know, to when, you know, basically 6 years later till he's 22 years old, you could just see how he was having an opportunity to really bump his game up. And, you know, he was just outstanding the entire year for us. But he established all that really, as you were saying before, late in his junior year is when it all started to kind of come together. Then through the summer and fall, then he was ready to take that role and run with it in the spring.
You played in the Texas Summer League. Coach says that that's when you really made a lot of improvements with your pitching game. Walk me through that summer and even into the fall, which translated into the spring, and you having the most strikeouts in the country.
McGuire basically told me, he said, I want you to work for the Friday job. He said, that's your goal. I want you to be the Friday starter at the beginning of the year next year. And then I accepted that kind of as a challenge. I went to Meade and I said, what do I need to do to achieve this? He said, the walk's got to stop. He said, you need to command your fastball, stop worrying about throwing your cutter, and just go out there and attack hitters and get ahead of them. And so as soon as I got there, I told my game plan, and Coach Meade told the same thing to our head coach, Kurt Dixon, and he stuck with it. And that's all we did. We just worked on throwing fastballs, locating fastballs on each side of the plate.
He kind of knew there was things he had to work on. There was things Coach McGuire wanted to work on, and certainly things I wanted to work on. And he did all of those. And you know, with all that came a lot of confidence, and I think all of that came together kind of in a perfect storm to do what he did this year.
As soon as I got back, I wanted to keep going with it. So instead of trying to be like, oh, I had a good summer, let's try to make it even better, I just wanted to improve on one little thing at a time, and that was cutting down the walks, getting ahead of hitters, and making them put the ball in contact, and that was my main goal.
After his Friday win over Rice, you said the greatest compliment you could give him was how much of a competitor he was. What type of competitor is he?
He wants to win at everything he does. I mean, and he's always been that way. But as that game got going, you could really see it come out in him that he knew what he was up against. Nobody expected us to beat Rice. Nobody gave us much of a chance, let alone give him a chance. You know, a 5'10" left-hander that's come out of nowhere, and you know, it's just kind of a fluke what he's done. And so I really think he thought he had something to prove in that game. And then once we got the lead and we got going a little bit and the crowd got into it more, I think it elevated him even a little bit more. But I think it just showed right there. And then from that point on, I just don't think there was no stopping him at that point. I think that's what gave him the nod, gave him the confidence, but gave the team the confidence too, that every time Zac went out there, we knew he'd give us an opportunity to win.
Of all the games that he won, all the strikeouts, all the career highs that he accomplished, what game did he have his best command in your point?
I think the Old Dominion game here, and I said it afterwards, I thought it was one of the best games that I've ever seen anybody pitch in a Blue Raider uniform, and at least in the top 2 or 3 anyway. And I've seen some good ones with DeJuan Brazelton, and I mentioned before Brad Howard threw a no-hitter during his freshman year against Tennessee Tech. You know, there was games like that I do remember, but he was only faced 2 over the minimum, you know, that whole night, and you know, he's double-digit strikeouts, and his command, everything was just working for him that night. It got going, and it was a 1-0 game, so he had to, you know, we scored that run, I think the 3rd inning or 2nd inning, that Jared Allen hit the home run, and that was all he needed, and the pressure was on him, and I think he just continued to get better and better and better, and that game, I thought everything was working for him, and I thought at that point, I mean, this guy could pitch in the big league someday.
Coach Meade and McGuire trusted me to go out there and finish the job, and it was exciting because they're a really good team. I mean, they got in that large bid to go to the regionals, and they made a push to get to the championship for the regional, but they're a great team. It was best performance I felt I had all year.
At what point, be honest, did you notice you led the nation in strikeouts?
After Tulane, our game against Tulane, I didn't notice it. Jonathan Freewas told me. We were on the bus one day, and he just tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, how's it feel? I said, what are you talking about? He said, how's it feel to be top 5 in the nation in strikeouts? I said, I wouldn't know, I'm not a part of that. He said, yes, you are. And I said, no, I'm really not. He pulled it up and kind of took me by surprise and it shocked, but it was one of those things like, wow, this is actually starting to pay off a little bit. And because, I mean, once I saw that, I went home and I told Chelsea, my wife, I said, how cool do you think it would be for me to be at the end of the year and say, hey, I led the nation in strikeouts my senior year, and that's just something you can always tell people. And at first, I mean, I didn't think it was realistic because I was number 5, and there was, I mean, you got first-round guys ahead of me that are just major league caliber guys, and I just kept working. And I made it a goal to kind of go out there and see what I could do, see if I could make a run for it, and then once I got it, I didn't want to give it up.
He led the conference in strikeout looking as well. I mean, the number of hitters that he struck out looking, that I think his arsenal was so big that there was so many different things that he could do between him and Michael and Coach Meade on what pitch was going to be called. It didn't really matter. He had the confidence that he could do, and he knew what to do with it in those situations, whether he had to throw it for a strike, whether he could get the guy to chase, like I mentioned, or whatever he could do. He just had that confidence about him and command of all of them that he could do whatever he wanted.
What were the inner squads like when teammates had to hit off him? I'm sure it wasn't much fun.
It wasn't much fun. You know, we struggled. I mean, we were not a tremendously talented offensive team this year anyway, but he, you know, he dominated us a lot at times, especially early in the spring.
They joke around. They come up and be like, hey, thanks for striking me out. Thanks for sawing me off right there. I really appreciate it. My hands are still hurting. You could always hear sometimes in the dugout or before, and we'd go in there and see the lineups for each team. The team that I was pitching against, they'd shake their head and be like, oh, well, this is going to be a good 2 or 3 innings at first, and then they'd give it off to someone else. But it's fun. It's always competitive. It was fun to pitch in inner squads because you could joke around with them.
If he was 6'2", 6'3", I mean, he might go in the top 3 or 4 rounds, but I think he'll slide a little bit from there, but I really feel like he's a top 10 round guy. And 7th, 8th, 9th round, I think you'd look for him to go in there. His worst case scenario, I think he can be a left-on-left matchup guy if he's not end up a starter. That I'm serious, he could someday pitch in the big leagues even though he's undersized. I put him in the top 3 or 4 for sure, if not in the top 2, right behind DeJuan, as far as what he was able to accomplish. But 9-3 and to have an ERA under 2 with 136 strikeouts, you know, I think it's definitely in the top, you know, 1 or 2, you know, 3, 4 performances of anybody's single season.
I've had contact with every team besides my favorite, actually, the Atlanta Braves, and it's, like I said, it's humbling, and but I mean, the most interest I've seen from teams have been the Astros, the Blue Jays, the Mariners, and the Rockies. And Rockies have great tradition in Blue Raider baseball. Michael McHenry, Cody Woods, Ken Roberts, Daniel Paulo. I mean, they know how to. They've picked some good players, and I wouldn't mind. I'd love to keep going in their organization to show the Blue Raider baseball is a good program, and it's exciting.
How does it feel knowing that you get to continue to play this game for a couple more years at the very minimum?
It's humbling. It really is, and I still can't believe it. I know it's only a couple days away, but it's an exciting journey, exciting process to get through, and I'm nervous every day. Every day it gets closer, I get more nervous, more stressful, but I mean, a lot of guys don't get this opportunity, and I'm just honored and grateful to be where I am and to have people like Coach McGuire, Coach Meade, Chris Massar give me a chance here to get to the next level, because I mean, a lot of people didn't think I'd be where I am today, even graduating, but knowing that I can go out there and still push for my dream to play Major League Baseball for a long career, it's great, and I appreciate anything anybody's done for me, no matter how small or big it was.
Finish this sentence for me. Zac Curtis is?
I mean, tremendous competitor is the thing that I can say more than anything. I know we can talk about all the other things, and I'm not talking about just a competitor on the field. I'm talking about a competitor in the classroom, because he's always been told he's not been able to do it. You know, he told him he'd never amount to anything coming out of high school, you know, struggled academically, but he competed hard, got through it academically. They said he'd never make it out of Vol State, competed, got through it academically, performed well, all-conference pitcher there. They never said he would graduate, never graduate from MTSU, you know, never get a chance to play pro ball, just be another guy. But that competitive nature that's in him just would not let it go. I mean, he would not, and he will not let it go. As long as he stays healthy, he will not let it go until somebody rips that uniform off of him before it's said and done. So tremendous competitor is the best compliment that I can give him. I don't think anybody in the MTSU baseball community could be more proud of one person than we would be as Zac Curtis.
I can't tell you how many people I've wanted to stop running or slow down. They've just pushed me hard and say, you got something to work for, keep going, this and that. I thank my wife, thank my son. My son's even though he's 9 months old, he hasn't said a word to me yet. He's a blessing, and he's pushed me. He's made me grown up a lot, and just this whole year has been exciting and great, and I'll never forget this year.